We interviewed over a dozen people he tricked, threatened, or violated. You think that's harsh? No, he destroyed other people's lives for decades. I'm just making sure he spends a few extra years in prison for it. I'm not afraid of his people, not afraid of his threats. I know he's still in there fantasizing about a comeback, but the truth is, he's never coming back.
He refused to file bankruptcy.
He refused to file bankruptcy.
Well, yeah, because just his ego. I would have filed bankruptcy immediately. I don't mind bankruptcy.
Oh, you.
I'm not going to pay. I'm filing Chapter 11 so fast, your head's going to spin. I'll be back. You go, what happened? No, I'm just not going to pay.
Jay goes, let's get it straight. Nobody's afraid of 50 Cent.
I want everyone to be clear. No one's scared of 50 Cent.
At that point, his safe presentation, even the glasses, what the glasses represent? Intelligence, right? A nerd, maybe? What are some of the things that come along with you being a nerd? Like, don't hit a guy with fly. He's not identifying with the transition and difference in the perception of Jay-Z. Now he's really safe, and people feel comfortable with him because they know he's not going to do anything inappropriate or try not to. Meanwhile, when he's saying he's not afraid of 50 Cent, why would you have to make that clear when no one's ever asked me if I'm afraid of Jay-Z? In fact, his largest selling record sold 430-something thousand copies. My largest selling records, plural, 2 of them sold 5 million. You know, so it's a huge difference in who we are with each other internationally. Let them be fooled in America.
50 Cent is making one thing clear. This is not just about revenge. Yes, he admits he and Diddy have had issues for years, but according to 50, the documentary is bigger than personal beef. He claims Diddy is not the whole problem. He is only a symbol of a larger industry system. And once 50 says that, the story starts moving beyond Diddy and toward Jay-Z. Because now, people are asking whether Jay-Z stayed close enough to benefit from those circles, but distant enough to avoid the fallout.
The award shows not to give me the trophies. If you look at even Jay-Z's career, you can look at that and say the association to Beyonce is when he started to receive the 16, well, I think he has 16, 17 Grammys since he's been with Beyonce. Right? And you go, prior to that, 1.
This is where the conversation shifts from rivalry to power. 50 Cent is not only questioning Jay-Z's talent or success, he is questioning the system around him. The Super Bowl story, the award show comments, and the Beyonce connection all point to one bigger idea. Jay-Z knows how to position himself, and according to 50, that positioning may be the reason Jay-Z remains protected while others take the public damage.
And, you know, I remember one time walking in the studio, Bleak Beans, everybody was in there, and I was like, man, I'm telling you, man, y'all got a chance right now, just flood it, put out a lot of music, because 50 Cent is coming. And, you know, 4 months later, and the club hit, and it was over. And it was just like, okay, now everybody got to sit on the sidelines and wait this tidal wave out.
For 50 Cent, this issue goes way back. He has always viewed Jay-Z as someone who understood industry control, not just music, but timing, access, and visibility. That is why old stories about album releases and competition still matter in this narrative. Because 50 is painting Jay-Z as someone who doesn't always attack directly. Instead, he suggests Jay-Z moves through strategy.
You couldn't sell more records than Jay-Z. But all you had to do was listen to Benny Siegel. And Benny Siegel was, oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, he said that. That was the first of me actually hearing that. Like, oh shit. Like, I used to have questions like, why every time my album dropped, Jay would drop right on top of me. He wouldn't let me breathe or right before me. Like, I was always close, and I'm always thought like, damn, if a kid, back then it was physical copies. So if you had $20, 20 bucks that you saved up and you was going to buy an album, and it's under the same house, Rockefeller, between Jay and Beanie Siegel, you won't. 9 times out of 10, you won't buy the Jay-Z album. I never understood that every single album that I dropped, Jay dropped right on top of me. And it was like, damn. Like to have in-house competition at that magnitude was crazy. Jay already the boss, but I always thought that like, let me breathe. But
The Super Bowl story adds another layer. If Eminem had to insist on 50 Cent being included, then the question becomes, who did not want him there? That is why this moment keeps coming back. To 50's supporters, it looks like another example of gatekeeping. And when Jay-Z's name appears in that conversation, it strengthens the idea that influence in hip-hop is not always visible, but it is always present.
Guys want to say that he's snitching, you know what I'm saying, because he's telling his truth about what went down and what he saw or what he heard or whatever like that. I don't know how to love my enemy. And if I gotta put out the truth about something that he was doing and is wrong, and that was wrong, I don't have no problem with that, 50. Not a problem at all. Keep doing it. Maybe enough men come out and speak out on some bull stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're saying that Diddy's family is preparing a $1 billion lawsuit over this documentary.
I think they dropped it already. I don't think they ain't gonna have a chance, because before you put something out like that, they're gonna dot their I's and cross their T's. They're gonna make sure everything is in place. And if Puff had friends over there at Netflix, if it haven't came down, what it showed? No, yeah. If it haven't came down yet, they ain't got a leg to stand on.
Yeah, you just made me think of something. I'm sure Netflix has 1 million lawyers, and I'm sure they had plenty of lawyers go over this thing to make sure it was airtight.
Yes, sir.
And they might probably even cut some stuff out that maybe they weren't even sure about. Just probably, man. Well, Gene, I appreciate you taking the time. Dope content as always. And I wish you luck, man. I know, man, you get on these interviews and they go crazy, man.
Yeah, man, listen. A lot of people want to, come at me, and everybody want to find fault in 50, find fault in me, find fault in anybody who's speaking out against the evil shit that's been going on. But what about find fault from the person who did it? Find fault for the person who starved their artists. Find fault for the person who led an artist out there to lead to his death. Find fault in a person who set up the atmosphere for one of the greatest artists in hip hop to lose his life. You know what I'm saying? Find fault in a person that allegedly had a person sore in the middle of the night and they didn't want to be sore. Find fault in this individual who did all this crazy shit to people, instead of find fault in the people who's talking about it and letting you know about it.
Why do you think people defend Diddy? That's crazy, right?
I used to really believe they really want to be in the Diddy party so bad.
It's because they're doing the same shit he doing.
Or done it.
Man. All right, Gene. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
That's a nice
Appreciate
cat.
you too, man. Yeah,
right,
I
bro.
seen yours in the background too.
Oh, did you?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, my cat be going crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Gene. All right, bro. Thanks, man.
Be good, brother. Peace.
All right, bro. Later. What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon, so hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.
Now the story becomes more sensitive. Some commentators are asking why certain footage surfaced when it did, why Diddy's downfall moved so quickly, and whether bigger industry forces were involved. But this part must be handled carefully. There is no verified proof that Jay-Z orchestrated anything connected to Diddy's legal problems. What exists is speculation, based on timing, silence, old alliances, and the sudden collapse of a man who once seemed untouchable.
I don't recall that. I just recall that I know we did good songs with Juvenile. I don't know if I like that Eminem. I'm not saying it's not true. I just don't know. I just know the Eminem call came like maybe later on or something. I'm not even sure. I know we was hot on the streets. We had the mixtapes, and like Universal and a whole bunch of labels wanted to sign Fifth, and he was saying no when I was going to the meetings. You know what I'm saying? So, and then the Eminem call, I don't even know how I remember. I just remember it just happened, and then just being around Eminem was like, damn, this shit crazy.
I got 50 Cent his record deal with Eminem.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, would not believe that. That's not in the history books.
Ask 50. He'll tell you like, damn, yeah, Juve was the one down there. I let 50. 50 couldn't really go to studios in the time. And I was like one of the first cats with a studio bus. So I let him record on my bus. Him, Yayo, and Banks. All of them come on a bus and record. It was during the time when Eminem was doing the D12 thing. They was actually down here in New York doing a video for D12. And they invited me over. So I bought Sha Money over there because 50 had maybe 2 weeks.
All right, stop it. Stop. You can stop it now? I'm lost with that because we was going to studios. We was going to shout to Red Spider. We was going to Red Spider Studio, Mad Studios, but you know how we was everywhere we went. So we was going to studios.
This is where Jay-Z's image becomes the focus. 50 Cent is suggesting that Jay-Z's transformation was not just musical. It was strategic. From rapper to businessman. From street figure to family brand. From artist to institution. And once Beyoncé became part of that image, Jay-Z's position became even stronger. That does not prove wrongdoing, but it explains why 50 keeps pointing at image, influence, and perception.
Who was kind of like, we're done with this guy. You're not back. You're threatened to say this. Release the footage, right? So they released the footage. He comes out, issues an apology. While his lawyers accused the government of leaking the tape, it was later admitted as evidence in his trial. Again, January deal. March is raiding his house, Miami in LA. May, here's a video being dropped from CNN. Even though they've been sitting on it for 8 years. September 2024, book is released, Kim's Lost Words, which, by the way, there's a lot of speculation with this thing here, so whatever I'm reading is not necessarily 100%. It is there, it is not there. The alias they use on who wrote the book is Shanti Millwood, which is an alias for Tupac, which is kind of weird. Why would you use that? This book appeared on Amazon, allegedly written by Kim Porter, accused Diddy of abuse, misconduct with minors. Porter's children denounced it as fake. Investigators revealed the real author was Chris Todd, who claimed he compiled the book from a mysterious flash drive. Amazon removed the book a month later.
Clips like this are used to remind viewers that Jay-Z's public image was not always as polished as it is today. He has faced controversy before, but over time, that older image faded, and a much cleaner business identity replaced it. That contrast is important to the story, because 50's argument depends on one idea. Power can change how the public remembers you.
Wow, because I thought there was another one. You know, the whole when at the award ceremony when Diddy and Snoop are talking and you can tell the look on their face. They're both a little bit worried that, you know, pressure could come back to them. And then someone tried to bring everybody together.
No, it wasn't. It was, I believe it was before that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And that's where comment and all that stuff was squashed.
Yeah, it was squashed, you know. I promised that I wouldn't make another diss, right? You know, I had made a diss song, he made a diss song, I was ready to come back, and then we had the meeting, and, you know, I was like, you know, it's better to drop it. You know, having a beef in public is very dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Why is that?
Because a third party can come in and take one of y'all out, and it's gonna be blamed on the guy you beefing with and not on the real person or party.
Makes sense.
You know, so you beefing with somebody in public and the whole world know now. somebody who don't like you or don't like them can come in and do something and really, you already know who's gonna get the blame.
This brings 50 Cent back to the center of the story. For years, he was one of the loudest voices speaking against Diddy. At the time, many people brushed it off as trolling or personal beef. But now, after everything that has come out, some viewers are looking at those old warnings differently. That is why 50's voice carries more weight now. He was saying it before the industry was ready to listen.
And I remember one time walking in the studio, Bleak Beans, everybody was in there, and I was like, man, I'm telling you, man, y'all got a chance right now, just flood it, put out a lot of music, because 50 Cent is coming. And 4 months later, in the club hit, and it was over. And It was just like, okay, now everybody got to sit on the sidelines and wait this tidal wave out.
At this point, the story expands beyond Diddy and Jay-Z. Other names enter the conversation, and the claims become much heavier. This is where the script must stay balanced. Some people are making serious allegations. Others are treating those claims as unverified and controversial. But the bigger point is this. People are no longer only asking what Diddy did. They are asking who knew, who stayed silent, and who benefited from the system around him.
Well, this ain't the first time somebody went at Puff on a diss track. You know what I'm saying? As far as, we know the Tupac thing, but it's a diss track that nobody ever heard of, but by the person who wrote Missing You. Source Money did a diss track on him because he wasn't receiving the money for writing Missing You. So he wrote this diss track and sent it to Jay-Z. Jay-Z immediately got on the phone and called Puff and said, yo, my man, you don't want this to get out. You do not want this diss track to get out on you, bruh. And Puff cut Source Money a check for 100-something G's or more than that or something like that. But I know it was in the thousands, 100,000s. Puff cut that nigga a check on the strength that Jay-Z told him, yo, you don't want to get that out. I wish Source Money put it out now. But it is what it is. So as far as Mace is concerned, I think Betha just went back to what he was used to. Mace was one of the guys in Harlem World that he can go bar for bar with you, or probably better than you. So he went back to what he know. You understand? And then he put it together. Now, I'm not too fond of the auto-tunes, but I don't really care for it that much because I've heard Mace do a diss track before, and he could put it together. And some of the stuff he said in there, man, that shit was crazy. It was stuff that people probably known or people.
By the end, the story comes back to power. Diddy is fighting his legal situation. Jay-Z is being questioned by commentators. 50 Cent is pushing the narrative harder, and now even political connections are being discussed. That is why this story keeps growing. It is no longer just about music beef. It is about influence, protection, silence, and who gets held accountable when the public pressure becomes impossible to ignore. 50 Cent is framing Diddy as the man who finally got exposed. But he is also suggesting that Diddy may not be the only person who understood how the system worked. And as long as 50 keeps speaking, the questions around Jay-Z, Diddy, and the industry behind them are not going away.